morning. I would like to bring your attention to a couple things in the bulletin. One is the pancake breakfast sponsored by Youth in Action. That's February 23rd, beginning at 8 a.m. and running until 1. That's a free will donation. Secondly, Laura Middall wanted to remind you that it is Compassion Sunday and that she will be in the narthex answering questions and being able to direct you to children across the seas that need help. And not only can you sponsor our own child, Adrian, here for 1 month, but there are hundreds of kids that we sponsoring. If you haven't done that before, I can tell you that it's very personal. They send you letters, they send you pictures. It's more than what I thought. It's an easy thing to share if you have a high school child or a college child who's making some money and wanted to give back. It's a nice thing to be able to share that with somebody as well. And the last thing is our own brass group. We have our concert here this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Number one, it's a benefit for the food pantry. So if you're attending, you are encouraged to bring either cash or non-perishable foods. But we're going to have some fun. We're going to play some stuff we never played. And we've been working on and having some fun with Basin Street Blues, A Little Brown Jug, Georgia, Wabash Blues, and Love Is Here to Stay. Things that I think you might enjoy, that we will certainly enjoy playing for you. So that is this afternoon at 3 o'clock.
Thank you. I would just like to thank everyone for the prayers for Karen. The operation went very well. She's healing. Unfortunately, she got a black eye, so she doesn't want to be out in public yet. But she's doing very well. She'll be here next Sunday.
Thank you, Ken. Lisa?
I'd like to ask for prayers for my son Adam. He was injured in a do-it-yourself home accident and cut his leg badly despite super glue and things. He had a lot of stitches.
You pray for Adam and his healing. Thank you, Lisa. Jennifer?
I'd like to ask for continued prayers for Ernie. He had knee surgery the 5th. He's doing quite well. He can't do a single thing. So I'm asking for prayers for me.
We pray for Ernie and for Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. Will you join me in quiet prayer? Thank you, God, for today. And thank you for this place of worship. Thank you for bringing us here. And thank you for inviting us here. Thank you for giving us the freedom to worship, freedom to make choices for our lives. Thank you for giving us the opportunities to love our neighbor, to work with others towards justice and mercy. Thank you for giving us the freedom to choose kindness instead of reprisal. Today we gather remembering Jesus, who said he came that we might have life and have it abundantly. We remember as he went about healing, he taught his disciples about love. As he taught in the temple, his followers heard your promise of new life. And in his death, we remember today the world would know and see the depth of your love. We believe that you raised him from the dead, and that now he works with us through the power of the Holy Spirit to help us pursue your kingdom here on earth. We recognize and we confess that we have a way to go in our quest of commitment and growth. So we ask once more, will you help us to learn what it means to have faith. Help us not to be afraid of depending on you. Let us learn from our enemies what it means to forgive. May we not be so sure of ourselves that we condemn others whom you also love. Let us learn from the foreigner what it means to dwell in a strange land and offer hospitality to the rootless, the homeless, and the estranged of this world. We thank you, God, that you continue to nourish and sustain us, that you continue to invite us to choose faith, constant reminder of your abiding presence. And may our lives be evidence of the fruit of an obedient faith. We pray all these things in Jesus' name, and we pray the prayer he gave us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
O God, of blessing and of curse, of life and death, grant that we might have ears to hear the word of life in Christ with all its stark demand. Enable us to hear good news when Christ asks us to give up our attachment to all earthly values and gives us courage to do so. May these gifts be used in the Spirit that we may attain to your blessing. Amen. you with all our hearts, souls, and minds. May the reconciliation we pursue reflect our love for neighbor as ourselves. We pray in the name of Christ, who allows us to present ourselves trusting in you.
Thank you, Alex. Several years ago, I came across a book. I believe it was on the for sale shelf at my local library. And it's a book published in 1978. It's a volume that contains introductions to be read to congregations prior to reading the various passages from the lectionary. And I picked that book up. It's been sitting on my shelf for years. And I thought this morning, I should take a look at that book this morning. And I thought, who knows how many more chances I'm going to get to use it. So I thought, well, I'm going to use it this morning in its introduction to today's passage. I apologize to the author. I neglected to write his name down. But this is what he wrote in introducing our Bible passage today. He wrote, in the Old Testament lesson, Moses presents the people with their choice. Love and obey the Lord and find life, or turn away to other gods and know death. Israel is about to cross over into the promised land, and this is Moses' final charge to them. In historical terms, the speech was probably composed many hundreds of years later, near the time of the exile, after Israel had experienced much backsliding from the Lord. But this is still their choice, blessing or curse, life and good, or death and evil. So let us read the passage from Deuteronomy 30. See, I set before you today life and prosperity, death and destruction. For I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commands, decrees, and laws. Then you will live and increase, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away and you are not obedient, and if you are drawn away to bow down to other gods and worship them, I declare to you this day that you will certainly be destroyed. You will not live long in the land you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. This day I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live, and that you may love the Lord your God, listen to his voice, and hold fast to him. For the Lord is your life, and he will give you many years in the land he swore to give to your fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In reading the Bible all the way through, I discovered an interesting fact about the Bible. I discovered in reading the Bible cover to cover that the Bible contains different ideas. Some of these ideas are in harmony with one another, and others are paradoxically in tension with one another. Sometimes ideas in the Bible even contradict or conflict with one another. Now, when I discovered this in learning about the Bible took on new meaning for me. It became more real and more helpful, because this is my experience in life. I experience some things to be true now, and then over here is something that's very different, even in conflict or paradoxically in contradiction to the other. This is true as well. G.K. Chesterton remarked about that in regards to the Christian faith as a whole. He said the Christian faith has traditionally, when it's found a truth that is in contradiction with another truth, but both seem to be true, it has embraced both truths as well as the contradiction in between. The Christian faith is filled with paradoxes, he said. And I don't know about you, but that has just been my experience of life. One idea that's in the Bible is that people reap what they sow. As Donald Davis's caretaker, Miss Annie, says in that wonderful story he entitles Miss Annie. Miss Annie had a motto that summarized all of human history. People get what they deserve. Something good would happen and she'd say, oh, don't get too worked up about that. That's been on its way. People get what they deserve. Something sad would happen. She'd say, oh, don't get too upset about that. People get what they deserve. He said she believed it. And this is the idea that I take from today's reading. People get what they deserve. But there's another truth that I've experienced in life, and it is different from people get what they deserve. It is summed up by the question which serves as the title for Rabbi Kushner's famous book. Why do bad things happen to good people? She didn't deserve that. She's a good person. Why did this happen to her? She certainly didn't have that coming. Interestingly, the Bible not only says that we reap what we sow, but the Bible also tells a story about why bad things happen to good people. And you probably know the title of that story. It is the book of Job. We know it to be true because in our life, our choices have real consequences. And that to me is related to this idea that people get what they deserve. What I choose today matters. And it matters deeply. Because there is a cause and effect in our world. And I would say that this is perhaps our most cherished possession. Our most prized gift from God, some say. It is our free will. Our freedom to make choices about our lives. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but the whole notion of freedom rests on cause and effect. It rests on consequences. How we use our time, how we spend our money, who we share our time with, what kind of work or interests or hobbies we pursue. These choices matter. They matter deeply, and we cherish the freedom to make these choices. And we say, God gave us these choices. These choices are so vital and immediate to us that at some point in our lives, we just assume them. Who are you to tell me? You're not the boss of me. I get to make that decision for myself. That's my choice. And our nation, in its founding documents, cherishes these freedoms. We speak of freedom to speak, freedom to worship, freedom to gather together, freedom to assemble. All these freedoms are based on this idea that our choices have consequences. I mean, for example, say you give me $5 and send me into the candy store to buy whatever candy I want. I can buy whatever candy I want. But if I go into the candy store and all the candy tastes exactly the same, do I really have any freedom? No, my choice has no consequence. It doesn't mean anything. It's only because our choices have consequences that we can think of ourselves as free with regards to the choices we make. Now today, I am beginning a series of messages called The Shape of the Christian Life. And I'll talk more about what I mean by that in the messages to come. But it suffices to say today that our lives as Christ followers are shaped by the choices we make. So much so that I think one of the primary gifts of God is that God relates to us in our lives through the choices we make. God not only gives us choices, but God gives us important choices. And gives us perhaps the most vital choice of whether or not to trust in God. Or perhaps to say it this way, to pursue a relationship with God. This is the most vital choice according to the Scriptures. As was Moses, Jesus was very clear of that choice to pursue God and the consequence of that choice. The consequence of that choice is to pursue life. Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have it abundantly. He said, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me will never die. So our message today from Moses is very much in keeping with Jesus' entire project. It is about choosing life. To To choose God is to choose life. Now, I looked up the word life in a dictionary, and I was surprised at the wide range of definitions that I read. The word really has many definitions. I'm not even going to share all of them with you. I think there were 8. I want to share with you just a few because I think they apply to our conversation this morning. The first definition distinguished things that have life from things that are inanimate. And it referred to life as organic. And that in being organic, life has the capacity for growth, functional activity, and continued change. We often think of life in terms of just existence, a continued existence. Her life came to an end. Interestingly, the Bible, when it talks about life, uses some phrases that I bet we're familiar with, but I wonder if we have thought about what they mean. For example, one phrase, and I'm sure you've heard, is the phrase we hear in church, everlasting life. And everlasting life has to do with this continued existence. It has to do with duration. It goes on and on and on. But there's another phrase that sometimes we confuse with everlasting life, but commentators distinguish between the two of them. And this phrase is eternal life. Eternal life. You might think, well, no, eternal, isn't that the same as everlasting? And no, the commentators that I've been reading say, no, this fits with the next definition of life. Life sometimes refers to a particular type of existence, a particular aspect of existence. Let me give you an example. My uncle moved to California to start a new life. Do you hear what I'm saying? That's different from duration. That has to do with quality of life. And the interesting thing that commentators say about the phrase eternal life is that it has to do with the quality of life. Now, the remarkable thing about that is that when Jesus says, I came that you might have eternal life, he is offering something that begins today. If we're talking everlasting life, we're talking about something that transcends mortality. When my body fails, everlasting life continues. It doesn't begin until then. But eternal life as a quality of life begins today in Christ. I think that's really remarkable. Here's another definition of life. Vitality, vigor, or energy. He was young and full of life. You hear that? some of you are very artistic. You may know about this. I think I have heard about it, but it surprised me still. I just want to read to you this definition. One definition for the word life is reality or something real, often used in art, when the subject is a real model rather than something from the artist's imagination. And the example given is the pose and clothing were sketched from life. I just love that. Life is what is real. Now, one of the things I think we can do to help ourselves in our daily living is to remember that we do have a choice. Sometimes people come in, and I get like this. You get so balled up, you're so sort of enclosed, you're feeling anxious and fearful, and one of the things that happens is you begin to lose perspective on reality. You begin to forget that you have choices. You have choices. And you not only have choices, but you have the power to make choices for yourself. Just that in itself is freeing. Just recognizing I have the power in this circumstance to walk away or to remain. That's my choice. And I am, whether consciously or unconsciously, choosing right now. And I would say, as long as we're breathing, as long as we have the good grace to retain what wits we have, every day we can choose God. And in so doing, we choose life. Will you please stand and sing How Can I Keep Him Safe?
Song above the
singing. I choose that.